Ahoy there, mateys! Welcome aboard the hopeless to limitless ship, where we're about to set sail on an adventure of a lifetime. Today, we'll be sharing a tale of the high seas, of brave pirates and their quest for treasure. It's the story of Captain Blackbeard and his crew, who faced danger at every turn, battled fierce storms and sea monsters, and outwitted their enemies with cunning and skill. But their biggest challenge was the treasure they sought, a fortune that was said to be cursed by a madman's wrath. So hoist the Jolly Roger and let's join Captain Blackbeard on his final journey as we uncover the mystery of the pirate's treasure.
Once upon a time, on the vast open sea, there lived a group of sea pirates who were feared by all who knew of them.
They were notorious for their cunning ways, their fearsome reputation, and their ability to plunder even the most well-guarded ships.
These pirates were led by a man known only as Captain Blackbeard, a fierce and ruthless leader who had never been defeated in battle. Captain Blackbeard and his crew sailed the seas in search of riches and treasures, always staying one step ahead of the law and their enemies. They had a reputation for being merciless and cruel, but they also had a code of honor that they lived by, and they never betrayed their own. One day, as they were sailing through a particularly treacherous stretch of water, they came across a ship that was in distress.
The ship was a merchant vessel, and it was being attacked by a group of rival pirates. The crew of the merchant vessel was outnumbered and outgunned, and it seemed as though they would be defeated.
But Captain Blackbeard was not one to stand by and watch as his fellow sailors were attacked. He ordered his crew to engage the enemy pirates, and soon the sea was filled with the sound of clashing swords and cannon fire.
The battle was fierce and bloody, but in the end, Captain Blackbeard and his crew emerged victorious. The merchant ship was saved, and the grateful crew offered to pay Captain Blackbeard and his crew for their help. But Captain Blackbeard was not interested in their money. He had his own code of honor, and he believed that helping his fellow sailors was its own reward.
So he refused the offer of payment, and instead asked for a favor in return.
The favor he asked for was a map
that would lead him and his crew to a treasure beyond their wildest dreams.
The map was said to be cursed, and many had lost their lives in search of it.
But Captain Blackbeard was not one to be deterred by such legends. He knew that if anyone could find a treasure, it would be him and his crew.
So the crew set off on their quest, using the map to guide them through treacherous waters and dangerous territory.
They encountered all manner of obstacles, from vicious sea monsters to rival pirates who wanted the treasure for themselves. But they persevered, and after months of sailing, they finally arrived at their destination.
It was a hidden island, surrounded by reefs and shoals that made it nearly impossible to navigate. But Captain Blackbeard and his crew were determined, and they managed to find a way through the treacherous waters.
When they landed on the island, they were greeted by a sight that took their breath away.
The treasure was there, in all its glory. Gold and jewels and priceless artifacts were piled high, glittering in the sun.
But as they approached the treasure, they heard a sound
that chilled them to the bone. It was the sound of laughter, but it was not the laughter of joy or happiness. It was the laughter of madness.
And then they saw him,
the man who had hidden the treasure and who had placed the curse upon it.
He was a pirate like them, but he was also something more. He was a man who had lost his mind, consumed by his own greed and lust for power.
He had hidden the treasure, knowing that no one would be able to resist its lure.
But he had also cursed it, so that whoever found it would be doomed to a fate worse than death. Captain Blackbeard and his crew were not afraid, however.
They had faced many dangers before, and they were not about to be scared off by the rantings of a madman.
They cautiously approached the treasure, wary of any traps that might be waiting for them. As they drew closer, they saw that the man who had hidden the treasure was standing guard over it, wielding a sword and a pistol. But Captain Blackbeard was not one to back down from a fight. He drew his own sword and advanced towards the man, ready to engage him in battle. The two men clashed swords, their weapons ringing out in the silent air.
The man was a skilled fighter, but Captain Blackbeard was even more skilled.
He parried the man's blows and struck back with deadly accuracy.
Soon, the man was disarmed and defeated.
He fell to the ground, sobbing and begging for mercy. Captain Blackbeard and his crew ignored the man's pleas and turned their attention to the treasure. They began to load it onto their ship, filling every available space with gold and jewels. As they were loading the treasure, however, they began to feel a strange sensation. It was as though the very air around them was growing heavier and more oppressive. Suddenly,
a bright light appeared in the sky, and they heard a voice. It was the voice of the man they had defeated, and it was filled with anger and malice.
You have taken what does not belong to you, the voice boomed,
and for that you shall suffer. The light grew brighter and brighter, until it was blinding. The crew of Captain Blackbeard's ship shielded their eyes, but it was no use.
The light was too intense. When the light finally faded, they found themselves adrift on the open sea.
The treasure was gone, and so was their ship.
They were left with nothing but their own wits and strength.
For years, Captain Blackbeard and his crew searched for the treasure, but it was never found. Some say that it was lost forever, while others believe that it was taken by the sea itself, swallowed up by the depths and hidden away from the world forever.
But one thing was certain. The legend of Captain Blackbeard and his crew lived on, inspiring fear and awe in all who heard it. They were the greatest sea pirates the world had ever known, and even though they never found the treasure they sought, they left a legacy that would last for generations.
And so ends the story of Captain Blackbeard and his crew. Their search for treasure may have ended in failure, but their legacy lives on, inspiring generations of adventurers to seek their own fortunes and make their mark on the world. Remember, it is not the treasure itself that matters, but the journey you take to find it. So keep dreaming big and never let the challenges of life keep you from reaching your goals. This has been Hopeless to Limitless, inspiring you to live your best life.